It is wonderful to be here this morning. Very excited. Forgive me if I'm a little shaky. I get a little nervous when I speak in front of people. But I think what pushes me through to talk today is when God does something for you in a clear way, you can't help but want to talk about it. And that's where I'm at this morning. Um, I'm probably not going to talk very long, but I want to give you a short story of how I met Matthias and Melissa in Denver, and give you a little backstory and then kind of what happened leading up to those events, and just what a beautiful confirmation it was that God had His hand and His blessing on our lives in taking a step of faith. Um, I've my like short brief history of my life. I was born in Costa Rica, lived most of my life on the mission field, and um, throughout that, we've been through a series of difficult church experiences, and our family and myself and my wife, we've been on a journey to seek and find authentic Christianity, which I think everyone is on a journey to do that. We want to find and experience the real deal. We don't want to be missing the point. And anyways, the church we are part of here in Ohio has been, over the last 10 years, a really good experience and very difficult at the same time. There were times where we experienced beautiful brotherhood. The love of Christ was so evident. The Spirit working amongst the brothers was just amazing. Um, and then lately, it's just basically the leadership kind of fell apart. They weren't able to get along, and there was no one to kind of step in and help people understand each other's hearts. Um, and it was a very negative situation for my wife and I, because both of our parents were in leadership and they also weren't getting along very well. So we're caught in the middle trying to help everything and fix everything. And I think through that, talking to some people, I realized that I've been carrying some emotional burdens, some things that were unhealthy that I needed to cut out of my life, and I needed to take another step. So it meant for us, the first time since we're married, we've been married for 5 years, making a decision. God, what do you want for our lives? What's good for us? What do you want? Because we don't feel like we're being fed spiritually. And it was kind of a scary thing, but for some reason, once I stopped trying to make everything work and trying to hold things together and relationships and all this stuff, I just let go and said, God, I'm actually here for the first time. It felt like a new birth experience almost, because I was finally, it felt like for the first time, putting my life in God's hands for real. Like, whatever it takes, we're going to do it. And so we took this step of faith. We said, you know what? We want to take a break. Where do we go? We pretty much just put a finger on a map and said Colorado. Like, that's kind of what it was. And I had no contacts, nothing like that. And we were just saying, you know what? If we're going to go, it's God's going to tell us. We're going to take a preliminary trip, and God is going to tell us yes, or He's going to tell us no. And for some reason, I had so much peace that God was going to speak to us. And the Sunday before we left, I visited a friend's home church, and he prayed over me and my wife. And he said, I pray that you will find divine appointments when you go out there. And it just stuck with me when he said that. I felt the Spirit of God moving in that moment. And I had talked to a customer who had a son. That's how desperate I was to make contact with someone I never met before. And I reached out to talk about what are good areas to live in, what should I be thinking of, like, just help me understand the state a little better, to kind of narrow down a place of where to go. And he told me to meet up with them in Manitou Springs, way ahead of time. We get off the plane in Denver, my wife and I, and unbeknownst to us, Matt and Melissa were already on the same flight. I didn't realize that. But it was the too many things lined up for it even to be a coincidence. Like, it was clearly God, because we were all on the same flight. We had rented from the same rental car company, which means that once we got off the plane, we had to get on a shuttle from the airport to the rental car company that ran every 15 minutes. They had checked bags and we didn't, but we still ended up on the same shuttle. Had we not sat across from each other, I don't know if we would have ever talked. We sat directly across from them. And Melissa starts speaking Dutch. That was kind of funny because she starts speaking Dutch and I was like, oh, they speak Dutch. Interesting. And then she was saying that Diana looks like someone she knows. And Diana's like, "Ich can Dutch," which is probably a horrible pronunciation because I don't speak Dutch. But, and that's where our relationship started. That's where we started talking. And it was so beautiful to see. Like we said, they're like, "What are you guys doing here?" We don't know. We're looking for a place to live. We're moving out here because we feel like God's got us on a path right now and we're stepping out in faith and we want to see if God's going to say yes or no. And Matt was like, we're doing the same thing. And that's when I knew that I remembered the prayer. And I was like, wow, God has brought a confirmation. And not only that, when I met with this other guy that I had talked about meeting, we didn't have, I told my wife, I said, it's like we went on a little vacation and God was our tour guide because we didn't have to do anything. I bought plane tickets. I bought an Airbnb I reserved an Airbnb in Denver, but I didn't even have to worry about anything. I just made the ability to travel around and God took care of everything. We met up with that guy, my customer's son, talked to him the forenoon and didn't have to cut our meeting short or anything. And he had texted me 1:30, let's meet at a coffee shop and touch base and compare notes, see how we're getting along. We had to drive 5 minutes to meet up with them. It was just, there was too many things that you could tell God had his hand in it. And my wife and I came back from that trip feeling the touch of God. I think that's just the bottom line of it. We've been in such a dry place for so many years. And all of a sudden, once we opened our hands and said, Lord, please guide us and give us direction in our lives, he was right there to give us divine appointments, confirm that he loves us and he's got a plan for our lives and so forth. And it was just such a blessing, such an encouraging time. We had a great time hanging out with Matt and Melissa, getting to know them a little better, and just great friends. They're so hospitable, super nice to us, and it's been such a blessing to get to know them and look forward to getting to know you guys better too. But I think that's just my encouragement through this whole thing. It's just like, man, when we truly are willing to step out in faith and follow God, he's right there. He's right there. We won't fear